Are your private Instagram accounts truly private, or has Instagram been leaking your private photos for the world to see all this time? Let's find out. I'm Ax Sharma, a security researcher and a tech journalist, and like many people, upwards of 3 billion users, I too like using Instagram sometimes. So I was also living under the assumption for the longest time that Instagram private accounts are private until I covered this report last week. Essentially, the security researcher Jatin Banga, he discovered that Instagram profiles, even the ones set to private, they are supposed to show this message, right? This account is set to private, follow to see their photos and videos. But without even following these profiles, Instagram was leaking some of these photos that these profiles had in their source code. So if you were to just view HTML for this page, it was leaking within the Polaris timeline connection JSON object these encoded URLs, which are pretty easy to decode, and that lead you to a person's private photos. Now, I'll walk you through this demonstration that if it's still in effect, what happened, what didn't happen, what worked, what didn't work. But just like real quick, let's see my own profile, right? Like that's Jatin's. If you view this as HTML today, I don't I see something Polaris preload, but I don't see the specific object highlighted by Jatin. But that doesn't matter because according to the researcher, Meta fixed the issue, but the Meta also closed this report as not applicable, stating that the vulnerability could not be reproduced. He has posted lengthy correspondence like PDFs of discussions with the company, and even then his report was dismissed, right? Like there's a lot of back and forth here if you follow. They basically say we're not able to reproduce this issue. And Meta even said, apparently, as they went as far as saying that there are any number of changes we could roll out, which I write here, right? The fact that an unproducible issue was fixed doesn't change the fact that it was not producible at the time. Even if this issue were reproducible, it's possible that a change was made to fix a different issue and that this issue was fixed as an unintended side effect. So basically what Meta is saying is we have no means to verify if this issue existed, we could not reproduce it, but if it was a real issue, something we did fix it, but we don't know what it is. Great. By the way, I tried to demonstrate to you this in a very simplistic manner, that if you view the HTML source code for this page, you should see the Polaris object. But the actual POC or the actual exploit posted by the researcher makes mention of this user agent. The user agent sent by your device should be a very specific mobile user agent to trigger this flaw. Okay, so if you were to, when even this flaw was active, it wasn't fixed. Even if you were to try this on your PC, on your computer, you wouldn't get the same results. You have to use a very similar POC, which we'll run in a few minutes, demonstrating how this bug could have occurred. So long story short, the researcher finds an authorization failure bug in Instagram, which he is able to reproduce 2 out of 7 or 28% of the times successfully. Instagram's not able to reproduce it, and there's a lot of back and forth here, right? So this is a serious authorization failure. And the POC shared by the researcher is pretty damning, is pretty revealing. He additionally sent us some extra materials to prove that this vulnerability had existed. All that is fine, but I think the big takeaway here is like it's a messy disclosure in the sense like he did his bit diligently. He disclosed everything to Meta in time, but Meta was not able to reproduce it, and they're calling it a CDN caching issue at first, which is a categorization the researcher disputed. And if we follow the timeline here, like the bug was reported early enough, but just there's a lot of back and forth, the researcher insisting that this is a real vulnerability, it's not a CDN caching issue, and Meta kind of denying it. I'm not even saying intentionally, but just because they're unable to know what's going on. So Jatin has posted his proof of concept exploit on Instagram, and of course, because now Meta fixed the bug silently and having no idea how it did it, this may not work anymore, but I found something interesting running this POC. Let's take a look. So I just downloaded this GitHub repository, right, which has the poc.py file and requirements. So this is my private Instagram profile, it is nothing much fun to see there. Now, if we try to run Jatin's POC on my profile, let's see, it's asking for a username. I'm going to enter mine and I'm logged out, as you can see. Well, it doesn't matter because the console is going to use its own connection, nothing to do with the web browser session. But anyway, if I enter my username, let's see what it tries to do. So it's fetching my private profile, and it found 36 URLs from one post. There are several posts in my profile. 356 posts, but it only found like one post and it extracted 36 URLs from that post and it saved it to extracted URLs. So let's try to see what this file has. I found this to be very interesting that it's still doing this. Now these photos, they are posted on my profile, but they're not truly private. They're not mine. So I co-authored this one post with a friend of mine who was visiting London, and she has posted these pictures. So these are still in my private Instagram profile, but these are co-authored with another author who her profile is public. So I think it's returning those photos, which is still weird because if my profile is private, right, why is it returning even these photos, I would say? And what I mean by that is this picture, for example, the co-authored one. As you can see, it's posted from my friend's account, but yeah, now it's visible in my private profile to anyone from the public, really, who hasn't even given me a follow. Let's do this one. It may reveal who the person is, and yeah, like you can see this person, right? And why should you be able to get even that picture from my private profile, even if their account is public? Now you're able to draw an association, whereas you cannot normally see who my followers are. Instagram clearly doesn't have an idea about what they're doing because this POC is still partially working. It's not exposing private photos anymore, but it's still exposing photos which may be linked to your profile, or you have co-authored it with somebody. Look, like that's 3 of us. It should still not be returned in the HTML source code. Now I reached out to Meta 3 times across 2-3 days, like on 3 different occasions. They did not get back saying why or like what's causing it. No comment, nothing. So I'm going by what the researcher has posted, which is like a lot of evidence, conversations with Meta, POCs, the video POC, and additional stuff they shared with me, an additional POC video, which showed specific user accounts which were private. Very bad bug. And the fact that this is still happening on and off in 28% of cases, as you saw in my case as well, it's leaking part of my private photos, which are not like strictly private, but they should not be visible to people who don't follow me or I don't follow, right? Pretty shabby work on Meta's part. For anyone curious, these are my private photos, nothing much to see there, but yeah, you should definitely not trust posting your information on the internet or anything you don't want people to see, because even a private profile is just an excuse. Like you're trying to gatekeep people, you're trying to gatekeep bots, but let's be honest. If someone creates a really good, like convincing fake profile and they give you a follow, chances are you may click approve follower. So I look at this privacy feature as a grain of salt regardless of this bug. So the takeaway is just be careful with trusting these companies or any platforms where you share your information to, because chances are even if you think it's completely private, it's not. I'm Ax Sharma. Thanks for watching this episode of Security Report. I'll see you in the next one.